Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. My name is Jed Lee, and you are tuned into Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. Our mission is to help all families grow closer through reading. And we do that by introducing you to the coolest authors, the funniest tales, and a whole lot of reading inspiration for the whole family. We hope that you'll help us spread the word by telling all of your family and friends, your kids, teachers, librarians, principals, and random strangers you meet on the street about the show, and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, CastBox, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have two absolutely wonderful guests for you today. First up, Jed Alexander. You know you're going to love Jed Alexander. He has that great name. He's here to celebrate his new middle grade novel. It's called The Black Market. And later in the show, Dr. Lynette Fraga is here to celebrate Reach Out and Read. Dr. Lynette is the new CEO of one of my favorite organizations in the world, Reach Out and Read. Hey families, would you like to share a miracle with your kids? At the Wolf Conservation Center, hope was fading. The endangered Mexican wolves dreamed of a pup, but none had come. Until one tiny miracle changed everything. Meet Trumpet, a real-life wolf pup whose incredible birth brought joy, hope, and a lesson in conservation. Trumpet the Miracle Wolf, written by Leocadia George, is a heartwarming true story that will inspire your whole family. Teach your kids the power of hope, love, and protecting endangered species. Get your copy today and join the wild adventure.
Hi, I'm Ashley, a first-time author who loves turning real animals into big adventures for our littles.
And I'm Michael, a scientist, international educator, and textbook author. Ashley and I have teamed up to bring the wildlife beliefs right into your hands.
Kids will meet real animals like jaguars and tapirs and learn about the struggles they face in the wild. With artwork by local student illustrators, these animals truly come to life for your kids.
And for teachers, we built K-5 toolkits to make it easy to integrate these books into the classroom, all with age-appropriate activities that connect literacy, science, and wildlife conservation.
You can learn more at ashleymosley.com or inspiredadventures.com. Let's keep the adventure going.
Well, I'll let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is also brought to you by We're Going on a Space Adventure, written by Marie Nichols. This is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Blasting off and speeding through space, Graham cheers to the moon and beyond. But Bracken quickly learns that Graham has a fear of flying and that he must manage control of the spaceship. On the moon, they narrowly escape a hideous monster as a crater explodes, and on Mars, they need to outrun Martian creatures or risk becoming their dinner. Hoping to find a friendlier planet, they decide to try Jupiter. Then clank, 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 something is attacking the spaceship. You and your kids are going to love this book. It's fun. It's exciting. It celebrates intergenerational friendships, and we love those. We're Going on a Space Adventure by Marie Nichols. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Join us right now from sunny California. Our guest, who shares with me the best name in the world, is here to celebrate his middle grade novel. It's called The Black Market. Please welcome to the show, Jed Alexander. Jed, how are you?
I'm very good.
Glad to have you here. Tell us about The Black Market, please.
Well, it's a middle grade book. It's about a marketplace that shows up at one time every Halloween somewhere in the world. And it's all the forbidden, horrible, terrible things are there in the black market. And our protagonist, Martin, and his friend Jess Well, Martin gets a bag of dirty tricks at the black market, and the book is about what he does with them and the consequences of what happens when he uses those dirty tricks.
Well, now we're not talking about those stores that pop up every October in like a dead, vacant old Sears and Roebuck store in the mall, are we? With the Halloween costumes and everything. This is something completely different.
This is the black market. It's in an alley, and it shows up, and there's a curtain that he goes through, and a special door, and then they don't sell Halloween things. In fact, everybody who goes to the black market has to wear a costume because nobody wants anyone else to know that they've been to the black market. So that's part of the premise. It's, you could only get terrible, horrible, forbidden things there.
As you're describing the book, you have this smile on your face. I'm guessing that you had a blast creating this story.
It was a lot of work. Went through a lot of edits. So, I had fun and also a lot of work. And it was a lot of illustrations. There's 50 illustrations.
Yes. And for you as an author and illustrator, what comes first? Did this story grow from an image or an illustration that you created?
It always comes from story. Story start, even with my picture books, it starts with story, and then character. At the center of the book is this relationship between these two kids, Martin and Jess, and I love to discover characters through the process of writing, and very much discovered their characters through their conversations with one another, and that was fun to see these characters take on a life of their own as they struggle with these different consequences from these dirty tricks and how they make solutions, and there's a lot of humor and some of it a little dark humor, but but the heart of the book is the friendship of these two kids.
Well, I love that you said that you enjoy discovering your characters. I think a lot of people who aren't actively involved in the creation process might be surprised when you say something like that, or when they hear an author say, I was really surprised what this character or that character said. Can you talk a little bit more about that, how these things kind of grow in your mind almost spontaneously?
Well, you have a certain idea of the character initially, and you begin to discover them as in the story as they react to different situations, and I don't necessarily know immediately how the character is going to react, and as they respond to the situations in the story, and as the one scene builds on another, the character begins to emerge. And that also happens in his discussions, his conversations with his best friend Jess, and you begin to see not only their characters emerge, but their relationship and how their relationship works with one another as they have conversations. That's one of my favorite things to write, is conversations, and that's where I think I get the most out of the characters, where you're seeing what they're saying to one another and what they wouldn't say. You sort of learn. I mean, it's a lot of trial and error. I mean, at some points you write it and it doesn't quite sound right. It doesn't quite sound like you think the character should sound, and you have to sort of kind of poke and jab until it starts to sound like you think it should sound, and that's part of that process of writing dialogue and discovering character.
Yeah. Do you have to take time when something happens, when you're building this kind of thing and one character says something to another, do you immediately write a response, or do you have to sit back and think about what that character would say in response?
A little bit of both. Sometimes, it just comes, and sometimes it comes and it's wrong, and you just have to sort of, you're going back and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. Writing is rewriting. Writing is always rewriting. But sometimes you just have to get it on the page. And so even if it's not quite right, you gotta get it down and then be able to go back and start to, interrogate the story and say, like, well, wait, is this right? Would she really say this? Would he really say that? And would they really respond to this particular situation? For instance, they're deciding on what kind of dirty trick they want to do first. And they go through all the dirty tricks, and they don't want to do something too mean. So but they want to try and see if it will work. So they come up with just the right dirty trick. And it's, the consequences are a bit bigger than they imagine they're going to be. I don't want to give anything away, but.
I can imagine that. Did you have fun kind of thinking about all these mischievous things that the characters get involved in?
Yeah, and that actually was difficult because, I didn't want anything to be, real life horror. I don't want anything, like bombs or something that is going to be about. There are poisons in there. There are all kinds of terrible things, and they decide definitely not going to use the poisons. But there's a line. Real life horrors are not something I wanted in this story. It is done with a little bit of a gentler touch. It's not about, real harm coming to real human beings. They do cause harm, but they're not, it's not, irrevocable.
Right. Were you a bit of a mischievous child?
I struggled. It was I think, I don't know that I created deliberate mischief. I don't know, probably sometimes. I think to some degree.
Yeah. When did you know that creating children's books and art was going to be your life?
Well, I think I always was interested in telling stories, and drawing pictures were very much came together as they're very much part of one another. And I think probably when I was very young, I don't know exactly how old, maybe 6, it was In the Night Kitchen, Maurice Sendak's In the Night Kitchen, and I just read it again and again and again and again. And I loved the feelings that it evoked in me. And it wasn't something you could put a finger on. It wasn't, the story doesn't have any obvious big themes, which I like. It's a lot of it is just about sensation. And it struck a chord with me. And I think that was one of the many books that I read that made me want to make books and make different kinds of books. Another big influence on me was the writer Daniel Pinkwater. His books, especially The Snark-Out Boys and the Avocado of Death, and Alan Mendelsohn, The Boy from Mars. His wit and his improvisational kind of style of writing. I don't think sometimes he knew what was going to come next. And it was just, that he was probably one of my biggest influences when I was in elementary school. And, but those two writers and many, many other writers and comic books. I have very big passion for comic books, and I love the idea of words and pictures together. And I also, when I was a kid, I loved the idea too that it was a book that I could go and buy at the corner store and with my own pocket money. And
Mm-hmm.
I made my own choice, and comics were something that was mine. And so were my favorite books, and the library was huge. I was very fortunate to live in a city with the county library. So
Mm-hmm.
I assumed all libraries were that enormous, and just had all this wonderful access. I loved interlibrary loans were great. I remember I wanted to get everything by Sendak, for instance, and I was able to get just about everything that he ever published.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, I've done some writing myself, and so that is I'm kind of familiar with that process. But in terms of visual art, it's something I really can't do at all. As you're creating, when you sit down to put brush or pen, pencil to paper, or work on a digital platform, do you already have the image kind of in your mind, or do you start with a line and you see where your imagination takes you?
I do what's called thumbnailing, where you do a lot of little tiny compositions and try to. I never have the image exactly as it's going to turn out. I never know exactly what it just like writing. It's discovery as you work, and a lot of the times I'll have an idea and I'll have the image, and it'll start to evolve or change as I'm working on it. Sometimes by my own limitations. Sometimes my limitations allow me to make discoveries because for instance, I might not know certain kind of perspective. I not be able to resolve it in my head. I'm going to have to come up with a different way to solve this problem, and I'll come up with a different kind of image. I had fun with perspective in the black market. I had one shot where they're looking. They're going to kick over this bucket, and you're looking up at them. And there's another one where the dog floats to the ceiling, and they're looking up at the dog. And there's been some fun shots with experiments with perspective in it. And a lot of things when I do illustrations, I want to I think about what I want to see. If I'm reading the story, what do I want to see? And sometimes you read a book and they'll describe something and you wish you could see it. And then they'll show a picture of something else. And you're like, I wish there was a picture of, like, I have to show the black market. There has to be an image of the black market. There has to be an image of the consequences of the dirty tricks. Anything I want to satisfy that. I think it's important for readers to use their imagination as well. But I also think, and I think readers should use their own imagination to have their own ideas of what things look like. But I also want to satisfy that curiosity, and just give them the pleasure of that image of that thing, that fantastical thing.
Yeah.
And especially for books for younger readers. When I was a kid, books couldn't have enough pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the biggest difference between illustrating a picture book and adding illustrations for a middle grade novel?
Well, the pictures for the middle grade are very much after the fact. So, I mean, we're really getting that manuscript, as tight as possible, getting the book to work, and all the mechanics of the book and the plot. And then after that, I begin to think about pictures. With picture books, I'm thinking pictures along as I am thinking of story, and I start to think of images that I want to make. And then after that, I have to break things down in page turns. And page turns are very important because it's each page turn is a discovery. And you want to keep those pages turning. You want the reader to have that curiosity of what happens next. And you want there to be a reveal on every page, ideally. And those page turns are so important. So then I break it down into page turns, and I start to then do these spreads. My picture books are wordless books, the ones that I've published so far, at least. I did a series called the Fairy Tale Color Collection, and each book is color themed. One is red, and the other's gold, and the third is olive, and each one is based on a fairy tale. Red is Red Riding Hood. Yellow gold is Goldilocks, and the idea is to subvert the reader's expectations based on those stories, that they might have certain expectations or certain ideas of what those stories are, and or they may come to it cold. They might not know these fairy tales. I never assume that the reader knows with the fairy tales that the reader knows the fairy tale or is necessarily familiar with the fairy tale that it's based on. It has to hold up as a story on its own. For instance, with Gold, the bears, they go out on a bike ride, and the girl, she, after school, she goes into the house and she makes a big soup, and she's it looks like maybe she belongs in the house, maybe she doesn't belong in the house. She leaves her things all over the floor, and then eventually we find out that she's made this soup to surprise the bears who are her family, and you find out that she's a part of the bear family. So that's just a different take on the story. The fair, I have no interest or connection with having fidelity to the original story. They're just jumping off points.
Yeah, neat. I like that. I had the pleasure yesterday. My kids are adults, so it's been a long time since I read picture books to them or with them. And I had an opportunity yesterday to sit down and read to a 2-year-old neighbor who's awesome and is just coming in and learning his words. And that, what you talked about, the page turn, and there's something new on each page. That was experiencing that with him again yesterday was so much fun. And it is, I really hope that parents really understand what an honor it is to be able to have that experience with the young kid, to introduce kids to books, to read a story, animate it, and get excited about the pictures with the kids, and help them get excited about story. I said a prayer of thanks yesterday after young Finn went back with his mom, and I'm really looking forward to being able to sit down with him again. It's just so much fun. And thank you for creating so many books that families can do this with. Do you ever take the time to sit back and think, wow, there's probably 100 families tonight that are going through Gold and looking at my pictures and being surprised?
Well, I don't think of it quite like that, but I every once in a while I'll hear from somebody. I'll hear some interesting, I'll get an email or I'll see something on Goodreads where somebody will talk. One thing on Goodreads was a woman who used my books, which are wordless, to connect with her father who has Alzheimer's. And that was interesting. She said he was able to follow the stories, and that's one of the things about the wordless books is that even if a kid can't read, they can connect with a book and make those early discoveries. I mean, one of the things that I love about books for young readers is this might be their first story with a bear in it. It might be their first bear. These are sort of formulating their schemas for what bears are. So it might be his first 10 bears. My bear might be one of his first 10 ideas of a bear. It's sort of these interesting kind of building up their visual vocabularies and their ideas of what things are and how things how the world works and I think I have that unique opportunity to speak to them on that level and I very much think about the reader as one of the things with picture books, with wordless picture books, is you are forced to make everything crystal clear. The reader has to be able to follow them without any they can't get lost or it can't be any real serious ambiguity. You have to make sure that that there's no cheating, there's no easy answer. You have to make sure that everything is very clear from page to page, and then make sure that as well that those pages are compelling and that the images are compelling and that the next page is going to reveal something special that the last page suggested, and that's it's a fun process.
Yeah, it must be. And again, as you're talking about this, you have a smile on your face, so it's obvious that it's brings you lots of joy.
Yeah, one thing I've had the privilege of being able to do is my own stories. I've never illustrated anybody else's book, and part of that is because I think to some degree my illustration style wasn't the market, so I was able to I just kept submitting proposals for books and of my own, and I have done illustrations for other people's stories, like in Cricket Magazine, and I've done quite a number of other people's stories, but it's been a great opportunity to be able to just tell my own stories, and I would be happy to continue to do that, and don't really have any great interest unless it's a really good story to illustrate anyone else's. So right off the bat, I was able to do things that were pretty uncompromising. For instance, the wordless books are not exactly an easy sell, but I found a publisher, Cameron and Company, that was interested in the first one, and I was able to do really the kind of book that I wanted to do right out the gate. And these are 2-color books, just black and one color. Some of that is because of my own nostalgia for the limited color palettes of early books that from my childhood, and I wanted to do something like that. And I just like the look of the striking contrast between just these black and one color, black and gray and one color. And so it was just a great opportunity. And again, with this middle grade, it is the book I wanted to make, and I'm very happy to have had the privilege to do that and get an audience to be interested.
That's fantastic. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the black market and find out more about you.
JedAlexander.com would be my where you could find some of my art and a little bit about the black market. But just any bookstore where they sell books, it's available in softcover, hardcover, digital, and audiobook. And the audiobook reader is so great. This Amir Levi, he did the most fantastic job. So it was just such a pleasure to hear him read my book.
Oh, that's awesome. We've had a great conversation with the author and illustrator of The Black Market. Our guest has been Jed Alexander. Hey, Jed, thanks so much for being with us.
I'm happy to do it.
Want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Once Upon a Dance. OnceUponADance.com. Are you looking for a magical way to get your kids moving? Once Upon a Dance brings stories to life with interactive books that inspire little ones to read, move, and imagine. Award-winning and teacher-approved, these whimsical tales are perfect for classroom story times or family fun. Spark joy, build confidence, and dance into imagination. Discover more at onceuponadance.com or find Once Upon a Dance books at your favorite online bookstores. Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting reading with your kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. My friends, if you've been listening to Reading with Your Kids, you know that we love Reach Out and Read, and we are celebrating. Reach Out and Read has a brand new CEO. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Lynette Fraga. Dr. Lynette, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here with you today.
Delighted to have you. I am so happy that the folks at Reach Out and Read reached out and told me about the program. I love it. Please remind everybody what Reach Out and Read is all about.
Yes, Reach Out and Read is a wonderful program and a really tremendous evidence-based model of pediatricians, clinicians, and clinical settings who support children and families through books, creating a positive connection with children in clinical settings in their pediatric well-baby, well-child visits, and really promotes both early literacy and strong social-emotional connection. It's a tremendous program that has really high impact.
Well, you know, I started reading with your kids 8 years ago. Oh, my goodness, I'm getting so old. When I had hair, I think. Because I knew that the bond that I have with my now adult kids, which is very strong, was built on a foundation of reading. That was the benefit that I knew that when I was reading with my kids, they were learning their letters and their sounds, and so that was going to help them read when they got to school. But for me, the biggest benefit was that social emotional, that bond that developed between me and my kids, my wife and our kids, me and my wife. And so I'm really happy that you're celebrating that with Reach Out and Read and really kind of having pediatricians remind parents that, hey, this is cool. This is like medicine. Reading with your kids is like great preventive medicine.
It is. And, you know, it's literally the moment the magic happens is in that relationship between the clinician and the parents and the child. When that book comes out, you can literally see that not only the joy and the connection begin to happen, but literally the neurons firing. 80% of brain growth happens within the first 3 years of life. This program begins from birth because it is not only about, importantly, literacy. It's also about connection. It's about growth and development. It's about social, emotional, relational health. It's a tremendous setting that sets up children and families to thrive for a lifetime.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that it really can help a kid look at a doctor or a nurse as not the person who's going to jab me with a needle, but the person who's going to read a book to me. And so I might want to see them once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, that connection is what it's all about, really. I mean, it really is about promoting connections. At the end of the day, it's about relationships. And when you're able to see a child come into your practice and you're opening that book and you're connecting over words, and a parent is seeing what's happening, what's unfolding in that room with them, with their children, you see the actual increase of those moments happening at home. This is actually evidence and research that we've seen. We've seen those parents that are involved in Reach Out and Read. They're twice as likely and actually to have those multiple moments of reading a week. So it really does make a difference, not only in the clinical setting, but importantly, outside of the clinical setting, where those relationships are built and those children are able to thrive.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that when I launched the podcast, my beautiful wife was still teaching in Boston. Her best friend was still a principal in the Boston public school systems. And I asked them, people who are listening to the podcast, I'm probably preaching to the choir. How can I reach the parents in your school that aren't reading with their kids? How can we reach them? And one of the things that they said to us, that what they both said to me was, boy, a lot of our parents, they're poor. They don't speak English. They can't read themselves. They're working 3 jobs. How does a program like Reach Out and Read help those parents understand that you might not read in English, you might not even read, but spending time with a book with your kid, there's benefit to that? Yeah,
such a great question. So, I mean, firstly, let's name that many families are experiencing tremendous stress. Mm-hmm. It's tough. Parenting children, it's tough being present in the world where you may be experiencing economic pressures or societal pressures, barriers of infrastructure and institutional barriers, et cetera. So there's, a lot of pressures that parents are feeling. And what can happen and what's important to happen is, firstly, you mentioned maybe I don't read or maybe I don't have the language that is reflective of my home culture in the books, et cetera. First, super important to have opportunities for books to be multilingual, bilingual, reflective of your own language is super helpful. And when you have a book in front of you and that infant's literally turning pages with you, which it is and does happen, that connection, the intimacy, and the touch, the support, the inflection, the voice, all of those things matter. Those are really magical moments. Mm-hmm. So it's less about how good I am at reading, right? Mm-hmm. And more about the connection and the relationship and the deepening that can happen over a book, and a book that's also reflective of your own lived experiences. I wanted to name that too. Having diverse books out there that reflect the diversity and beauty of each and every family's experience is also really important. That offers confidence not only to the parents, this book is about me and my family, but also to the children about, I see myself reflected there. Mm-hmm. That character is me and important enough to be in a book. How amazing is that? So those are super important to helping sort of develop this love of literacy and language and reading. Yeah. So I'm guessing on that, based on that answer, the physicians and clinicians involved in Reach Out and Read, they're just not pulling the same book out for every family. There's more of a curation going on there. There's a choice here, right? There's a choice. Families and children are making these choices around books. And That's wonderful. And having the availability of the diversity of those books is really important for children to really, again, sit in a space of, I am important. I see myself reflected there, and we can tell stories. It's about the storytelling. It's about the process of learning and speaking language.
Yeah. So based on that, I remember we're coming back from Panama, me and my beautiful wife, and we're in beautiful Miami airport. And wouldn't you know it, our gate got changed 6 times, and our terminal got changed once. And we noticed after the first move, there was a mom there with a 3-year-old and an infant by herself with all their bags. And when we moved to the first gate change, they were there too. And me and my wife said very quickly, that mom needs some help. And, we were there waiting. The flight was delayed like 6 or 7 hours. There were no books. The 3-year-old was getting very, very cranky. I just whipped out my phone and I started showing the pictures of my kids and just making up stories about the pictures we were looking at. And me and that kid bonded. I mean, that kid was good as gold sitting there. It was amazing. And I think that's just so important for families to know, just that time that you're spending. Making up stories is so beneficial.
Yeah, storytelling is so wonderful, isn't it? We feel connected to not only the person who you're telling the story to, but also receiving stories. I have to say with books too, and what we've learned is that through programs, through Reach Out and Read, those families that participate with us, there's also an increase in their expressive and receptive language. So not only what they're hearing, right? They're hearing more words and understanding more words. They're also expressing more words as well. So, that your story makes me think about how more words get integrated into children's stories, and they're also hearing and understanding better as they're growing when they're exposed to books and the beauty of storytelling.
Yeah. Well, you should tell us what your goals are with Reach Out and Read. It's already an awesome program, I think, but I know that you have some ideas based on your past experience of where you want to take it.
Well, firstly, I would just say that we're at a moment in time. We have tremendous evidence around the impact of the model, to your point. This is a great program. It's been around for 36 years. There are tremendous clinicians all across the country. We've trained 39,000 clinicians this past year. Massive impact. 4.6 million children are touched by Reach Out and Read. And here we are, and here I enter into this moment in time. And what is the art of the possible? First, I would say level of urgency. We continue to see children who are struggling in reading and literacy and so forth. And so how do we improve that? How do we contribute to growing the strength of children's ability to be able to read? And that begins from birth. So that's number one. I think thinking about how do we stretch our reach by expanding our work into more communities in a quality way, right? So we want to ensure that quality is at the forefront of replication across the United States, and ensuring that these clinics have the resources, the books, the training, the support that are necessary. So that's on my mind in replication. The second is around equity. Being at the heart of that mission, and ensuring that we really are creating an equitable model that is accessed, reflective of all of our communities across the country, particularly those communities that are under-resourced and underserved, and that we're paying attention to some of the structural challenges and inequities that families face, whether it be through things like poverty or these other kinds of barriers. We want, bilingual offerings, et cetera. We want to ensure that there's full access to the magic of the model of Reach Out and Read. And the third is around sustainability. How do we ensure that for 30 plus more years, right? 90, 120 centuries more, we are in space and in community and clinical settings, and that we have a sustainable route to get there. So how do we ensure that we continue to amplify the need for literacy programs, the need for programs that partner with clinicians, taking a model that's evidence-based and replicating it and creating sustainability and a sustainable model over time. Those three things are on my mind.
Those are really important things to keep on your mind. I'm happy that you have your eye on that ball. I'm curious. I don't think we've ever talked about how is Reach Out and Read funded? Is it just through the generosity of the clinicians, or do you have grants, fundraising, things like that?
All of those things. It's the generosity of the clinicians for sure. Absent the clinicians, a program would not be implemented, right? And so these clinicians who are attracted to and understand the importance of the earliest years of life, they're committed to their children and families in their community, and they're receptive to and excited about this evidence-based model where they can utilize literacy by point of connection, both promoting literacy and strengthening social emotional wellness. So the clinicians are key, for sure. And yes, we are out there raising philanthropic dollars to support our organization, and through the generous support of foundations and individual donors out and about, wanting to make a contribution to an evidence-based program, I would encourage them to visit our website at reachoutandread.org and find a site near you. There are sites all over the United States. You can actually search that on our website as well to see if where is my local place, and how might I contribute to this massive momentum and movement around literacy in clinical settings.
Yeah. Towards that end, are there opportunities for folks to volunteer at maybe a neighborhood health center in a low-income community?
Such a great question. Again, I would encourage folks, if they're really interested and they want to raise their hand, either by way of generous support, through donation, or through volunteerism, get on our website, find that clinic near you. There are affiliate organizations all over the United States, and reach out, literally, to Reach Out and Read, so that we can connect you with your local organization and affiliate. There are all sorts of ways to get engaged, and not the least of which is raising up the fact that literacy is an important vehicle for connection, for social emotional growth, for important critical development for the earliest years, and getting these young people ready for school, which is really tremendous.
Yeah. One of the things that, and this is really weird, and I'm almost hesitant to admit this, but today at the gym, when I came out of the sauna and started to take a shower, I was thinking about the fact that, and this is something I learned doing the podcast, that kids learn to read from kindergarten or pre-kindergarten to grade 2. And then in grade 3, they have to read to learn. And there are a lot of kids in grade 3 that aren't reading on grade level or aren't reading at all. How can Reach Out and Read best kind of help parents understand that, hey, look, this is you don't want your kids to get left behind?
Yeah. And actually what you even shared about reading at, third grade and entering kindergarten ready to read and so forth, reading begins from birth. Mm-hmm. It really, this is one of the main messages that I would share with families, is that the love for reading actually begins from birth. You can have that infant in your arms, making connections, following the words, saying the words out loud, turning the pages, all of that. Early literacy begins from birth. That's the first thing I would say. Mm-hmm. And I would also say to all of those out there as well, that there's, again, the tremendous amount of brain development that occurs during the first few years of life. When we talk about school readiness and we talk about being ready to read, or when we talk about grade level reading at third grade, we're talking about it too late.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, we need to be talking about it from birth. And I would just amplify that message. And this kind of a program, Reach Out and Read, where those first well baby checkups happen, a couple weeks old, that's where we can enter into the discussion from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, was I crazy, Dr. Lynette? Because I was reading to my kid when he was in the womb. It was kind of weird. I was just like, oh, and he wasn't on the page with me, but.
Not at all, actually. I heard a beautiful story last week about a dad who was sharing about his own story of welcoming his child into his life in the hospital, and sharing about how amazing he could tell that his infant could recognize his voice. And that's because there was so much, he read, when, to his baby, before his baby was born. And, prenatally, absolutely, hear our voices. And so, yeah, it's beautiful that you read to your baby before your baby was born. And recognizing and acknowledging that those connections start so very early. There's so many of these neurons firing every time you say that. Well, what I have a picture of is these neurons firing in your brain. When you're that little, it's tremendous what work the brain is doing that early. And to provide experiences, particularly through intimate, loving, relational connections that you're describing, that's how young children learn best, is through those amazing relationships.
Yeah. You're talking about all those neurons firing in a little baby's mind. I hope I have 4 or 5 still firing in mine.
We may have a few. There are a few that are still firing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Dr. Lynette, I've been calling you Dr. Lynette. Are you a pediatrician yourself?
That's such a great question. I am not a pediatrician myself. My focus is also actually in child development and family studies. And so I've been working for several decades in the arena of supporting children and families and children and in communities, and really advancing and working to advance programs like Reach Out and Read, who are doing all of these beautiful, amazing things in their spaces to promote healthy child development and healthy support for families, so that our future citizens are engaged and thriving.
Yeah, I love it. Please remind everybody where they can go to find out more about Reach Out and Read and find out more about how they might be able to get involved in their communities.
Please visit our website at reachoutandread.org. Get as excited as we both are about the possibility and the art of the possible of moving forward in literacy and connection and relational health and all of the things that are important for our nation's communities and families and kids.
I love that. Think about the possible and the art of the. Am I getting it right? The art of
the possible.
Art of the possible. I love that. We've had a great time speaking with the CEO, the brand new CEO of Reach Out and Read. Our guest has been Dr. Lynette Fraga. Dr. Lynette, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, that was a fun episode. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please share a link to the show with someone you love. Maybe post about it on your socials. We would be so grateful if you could leave us a 5-star review. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm so very grateful to the people who made this show so amazing, starting with our guest, Dr. Lynette Fraga. Please be sure to check out the reachoutandread.org website. Find out about this great great organization. It is nationwide. I am proud to say that it was born right here in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Also want to thank Jed Alexander. In addition to having a fantastic name, he is the author of a fantastic middle grade book. It's The Black Market. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty. Also want to thank our sponsors, our author sponsors, and our corporate sponsors. If you use our promo code READ, R-E-A-D, you get a great deal, and we may earn a small commission. And that helps keep the lights on and helps us keep spreading the joy of reading together. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. You are amazing. And you are making the world a kinder, more empathetic, more loving place every time you read with your kids. And you don't have to take my word for it. Dr. Fraga, she just backed it all up with science. You're doing awesome. Thank you so very much. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.